Okay, this is going to be the second try at this run because I totally screwed up the first one. This is Jim Voss, high above the garage, 8 or 10 feet, with a message in the broadcast of just my opinion. Everything on this broadcast is just my opinion. But this is going to be from my friends that are woke. Now, I've done some broadcasts in past times about woke, and I believe it's becoming etched into the concrete, and I believe it is a little bit on the scary side because of what they believe in and what they want to accomplish. I just read an article the other day that woke has had the grandioso idea that they're going to destroy capitalism, something that has worked in our country for over 200 years. But the woke people want to do away with capitalism, which I would imagine that means bring in socialism and or communism, which do not work on a capitalist society. This is a message to all my friends who are woke, and I'm going to have to read it because it's lengthy and I can't remember all this because I'm too brain dead. Speech is not some right-wing reframing of whatever. It is the foundation of Western civilization. Upon this civilization is built, and I don't have to make the point that it has been made by far better people in the past, that the only way to deal with the problem of racism is to treat people on the content of their character and nothing else. The fact that the woke culture seeks to overturn this is a new form of racism that we must all oppose. It means also I will not use this opportunity to say, I told you so. As someone who has spent the last 2 years warning people in the West that if we continue to erode our culture, if we continue to undermine our confidence in Western values, there are enemies like Mr. Putin, Vladimir, I'll get it right, who will seek to capitalize on this. I will not make any of those points tonight at all. Instead, what I'm going to do is to talk to those of you who already agree with me, which I imagine is most of you. I'm not going to talk to you because I imagine after everything you've heard tonight, now I want to talk to those of you who are woke. So my friends, just take a back seat. You know that they're all with me, but I want to talk to the people who are woke. And I believe that these people should be open to a rational argument. A small minority, I accept, because one of the tenets of weaknesses, of course, is that your feelings matter more than the truth. But I believe in you. I believe there are those of you who are woke, who are open to a rational argument. So let me make one. We're told that your generation cares more about one thing than anything else around, and that's climate change. We're told that many of you suffer from climate anxiety. You wish to save the planet, and for tonight, and tonight only, I promise you, I will join you, and we shall worship at the feet of Saint Biden of climate change. Let us all accept right here, right now, that we are living through a climate emergency and our stocks of polar bears are running extremely low. I join you in this view. I truly do. Now, what are we going to do about this huge problem facing humanity? What we, as Americans, can do. We can do only one thing. You know why this is responsible? Let me reword that. Did you know that we, Americans, are only responsible for 2% of the global carbon emissions? Which means right now that if America were to sink, it would have absolutely no bearing on the carbon footprint on the globe. Because the future of the climate is going to be decided in Asia and in Latin America by poor people who couldn't give a shit about saving the planet. The people in Asia and Latin America don't care about saving the planet. You know why? Because they're poor. Because they're poor. I came from rural South Carolina, which is not a poor state, it's a middle income state. Did you know that 20% of the households in Russia do not have an indoor toilet? 20%. What they have is an outdoor toilet. And I don't mean one of those nice porta potties in blue lagoons like we can rent when we have an event. I mean a wooden shack with a hole in the ground. The hole is a collection of fermented memories of the last 10,000 visits. How many are you going to go down back home tonight and say, let's rip out the bathroom and erect a Siberian shithouse in the backyard? And if they were not, well, why shouldn't you? 120 million people in China do not have enough food. I don't mean that they don't get dessert. I mean that they are starving. This creates malnutrition. Why do you think that a disease in China spreads so much more rapidly than it does here? 120 million people in China are starving to death. That means their immune system is breaking down because they don't have enough food. You're not going to get them to stay poor. Imagine you're Xi Jinping, the leader of China. When you were 10 years old, there was a revolution, a cultural revolution in your country, and the people came and they put your father in prison. Your mother had to denounce him. Your sister killed herself. And you were no longer enjoying the protection of your formerly powerful father. You were sent to a village where you lived in a cave house. And decades later, you have clawed your way out and up the bloody and greasy pole of Chinese politics to the undisputed supreme leader of the very Communist Party. That's Xi Jinping, okay? That destroyed your family, and you know the main thing you must do to simply survive and to stay in power is to deliver the one thing to the people of China that they want, and that is spirited economic growth. Where do you think climate change is on Xi Jinping's list of priorities? A third of the children who live in extreme poverty live in India. That means they are starving and dying of what we have, preventable diseases. And I want you to imagine this. Now, if you said to me as a father I had a choice of one or the other, my son had a serious risk of starving or dying from a preventable disease in the next year, or I could press a button that he would live, he would go to school, he'd bring his first girlfriend home, he'd go to a university and graduate and become a woke idiot. Then he would get a job, get married, and have children, become a man. But all I have to do is press this button for every day of my son's life. A giant plume of CO2 is going to be released into the atmosphere. Now, you're all noticeably young out there. I know you are. Most woke folks are. Most of you are not parents. Let me tell you something. There's not a parent in the world that wouldn't smash that button so hard that his hand would bleed. You're not going to get these people to stay poor. You will never get them to not dream of being richer. So I put it to you like this, ladies and gentlemen. There's only one thing we can do in this country to stop climate change, and that is to make scientific and technological breakthroughs that will create clean energy. And that is not only clean, but cheap. Cheap so that everyone can afford it. The only thing that wokeness has to offer in exchange is to brainwash bright, young minds like you to believe that you're victims, to believe that you have no agency, to believe that you must do whatever you need to do to improve the world, but mostly complain, protest, and throw soup on expensive paintings. And we are on this side of the argument not on that side, because we do not wish to prove. You can't say that we don't want to improve the world. We rise to speak on the side of the argument because we know that the only way to improve the world is to work, is to create, and is to build. And the problem with the woke culture is that it has brainwashed too many young minds like yours to deny that one principle. I don't really know what else to say about woke. I've read about it, I've researched about it, but its central theme is not about finding the solution. It's about joining hands with the cancel culture to say that because the writer of our national anthem owned a slave makes him racist. And so therefore we should find and write us another national anthem. Folks, I'm telling you right now, I don't believe there's a person alive that isn't racist in a certain way. I don't believe there's a person alive that's not prejudiced in many ways. I'm prejudiced. I do not like ignorant people. Ignorant because they thought that they would be better off. School was not going to teach them anything, that they dropped out in the 8th or 9th grade and decided to go it alone. And now they're looking for that handout because they have no education to get a decent job. To me, that's pure ignorance. I ended up with 2 college degrees, but I waited till I was 30 until I went back to college. And it was so hard. But in order to get that degree, I had a full-time job with the state, a part-time job with a hospital. I went to college full-time, and I went to the military academy on the weekends to get my commission. Now, that's because I wanted it. And I wanted it because there was no one else in my family that had ever gone to college. No one else in my immediate family had ever gotten a degree. No one else in my family had ever stayed in the military for the entire career, except for my brother. He did that. I can't feel sympathy or pity for you if you are in a position that is so low on the food chain that you're not making it, but you put yourself there. Excuse me. The second thing is, if you're so low on the food chain, what are you doing to get back up to where everybody else is at? Are you trying to go back to school? Are you taking a correspondence course? Are you reading books? Are you trying to learn something new? Are you trying to get a trade? Have you gone into a job where you are a journeyman and you're learning welding or a new trade that's going to bring you up out of the depth? Or are you looking to me, another taxpayer, to bail your sorry ass out and bring you up out with the sodomites? I love that movie. What are you doing for you? I'll help you up once. I just gave a Mexican lady and her 2 kids standing on the street corner with a sign that said she had lost her husband and she was starving to death. Kids break my heart. So I give her a $20 bill. Now, yeah, I may have gotten, flim flam. I don't know. Maybe so. But in my own mind, I felt good about it. Might have been a very lucrative position for her to be in. But I used to go home to see my mom when I was taking care of her when she was getting elderly and getting ready to die. And there was this one guy on the exit ramp on I-20 at Florence, and he was there every time that I would pull off of that ramp. Every day on a Thursday when I pulled off of that ramp, he was there. And every day I looked at him and he looked at me and he knew that I had seen him before. And I wondered, is this a scam? Is this man hungry? He says, we'll work for food. And I thought, yeah, if I gave you 4 onions, would you paint my house? But I doubt he would do that. Are you just suckering everybody? Are you really trying to get back on your feet? Have you run the gambit on your mom and dad and your family? That they don't want you around the house anymore because either you're going to finagle money out of them, and what you can't do that, you steal? Is that what you're doing? Are you trying to rely on the government to tell them that you're down on your luck and you can't ever get back up, so you want to live on that tit of the government, pretend you're crazy and get that crazy check every month, a little over $900, lots of money, and then beg for the rest of it? There's an old saying that some people have to hit rock bottom before they can ever start back up, but I think some people that hit rock bottom enjoy it there. They enjoy being the dregs of humanity, in and out of jail, in and out of trouble, always stealing. You know, it's that cycle. You steal, you buy drugs, you steal, you buy drugs, you steal. Yeah. Same old, same old. What does woke offer for a solution to a problem? Nothing. I can complain about a problem all day long, and then sooner or later, the people I'm complaining to get tired of listening to me bitch. Now, if I say, I don't like the way this is done or that's done, and here is a solution to fix it for the greater good, yeah, they'd probably listen to me a lot longer. But if I'm just going to bitch about it and say, this sucks, that sucks, you know, nothing's working out, blah, 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 they're pretty soon they'll turn you off and you can't even get an appointment with the secretary. So that's where I stand on woke. Woke's about here, civilization's about here, Black Lives Matter is about here, you know, Antifa is like lower than squid shit, and that's on the bottom of the ocean. Why do we need these types of organizations? Why do we need the 3 bitches of society? Bitch, bitch, bitch. Okay, that's about it. Everything is not racist. You can't make everything racist. You cannot take something that happened 200 years ago and compare it to today's standards and say, oh, he was racist. No. Buying and selling of people, unfortunately, and owning slaves, unfortunately, was common. It was a way of the day. It was a normal thing that was done. But if you want to start with someone, go and grab the Dutch. They're the first people who went on the shores of South Africa and kidnapped black folks, put them on the ships and brought them all over the world and sold them. From the beginning of the time of man, people have bought and sold slaves. Is it right? No, it's wrong. Now, today I just heard that San Francisco, progressive California, is considering reparations for those who qualify. Now, you're going to have to prove to me that your great-great-great-grandmama and granddaddy were slaves. And that's going to take some unbelievable documentation. But if you can prove it, they are considering, are you ready for this? $5 million per person. Hell, California's been broke since the last 10 years. People are fleeing because of the unbelievable taxation in California. And now they're considering, holy crap, that if your great-great-great-grandpappy was a slave, that you're due $5 million. Only in California. Okay, I've done enough complaining. We're going to cut it off at 20 minutes. This is Jim Voss, high above my garage, 8 or 10 feet maybe. closer to God, closer to the stars. Not Hollywood stars and regular stars. I want you to think about what we talked about. What do woke, BLM, and Antifa really contribute to society? And why do we need them to become an etched part of society? Just my opinion. Everything tonight has been just my opinion. This is Jim Voss, and we will see you on our 35th or 36th broadcast, which will probably be in a few days. I hope you have a good night. Take care. I love you. We still need to take that warm bath together and hold hands, and we're going bowling and get a beer. And I especially want to say goodbye to that good-looking blonde lady in the second row back there, because you are fine. Have a good night. I love you. And let me find this button here, and now we are gone.